Welcome to the Ponca City Monthly Podcast. I'm Andy, your host, and I thank you for joining us. Today, we are joined with Maggie from Deering House. How are you doing today?
I'm great.
Great. I'm glad that you can join us. So tell us a little bit about Deering House and what it does.
So Deering House Child Advocacy Center is nationally accredited, meaning that all the child advocacy centers in the United States operate under the same standards. So they expect Deering House in Ponca City to do the same things they do in San Diego, California. We have really high standards that are established at a national level so that every child who comes to a child advocacy center gets consistently evidence-based services. And so you can't just hang out a shingle and say you're a child advocacy center. There's a lot of research that goes into the services, why we do what we do. But primarily our purpose is our vision is to end the effects of abuse suffered by every child who comes through our doors. Because without Deering House, I think is a better way to describe it. Without Deering House, we wouldn't have a central location. Without Deering House, we could have scattered. You know, what happens is that a kid tells somebody on the playground, who tells the teacher, who tells the principal, who calls DHS, a child could have to tell their story 8 times without the collaboration and the coordination and the function of a child advocacy center. So now, with all of us working together, we reduce the number of times that children have to be questioned about their trauma. And so that's better for the child, and it's actually better for the overall investigation because the child's voice is being recorded. They're being heard. The questioning that we do at Deering House is a very evidence-based that allows for the child's voice to be heard and not influenced, by what we say.
Nice.
So we do that coordination, a multidisciplinary child abuse protection team involving 5 communities, 2 counties, 5 tribal. It's just lots of community working together. Basically the community working together to make sure that traumatized children are getting everything that they need.
Wow. And how long have you all been in Ponca City operating?
21 years.
21 years. That's amazing. So tell me about how you got started into this type of work, because this isn't like just something that anybody can do.
No, and my first degree was in geography, and my master's degree is in gerontology. So it's a really sordid story, but essentially I went to work for DHS on a part-time basis to make some Christmas money, and they kept me. And there happened to have a job. They said, I had this involuntary reflex, came from my parents, and they need a volunteer. They needed somebody to volunteer to be a child sexual abuse specialist. Hey, why not? And that's how it started.
Wow. And so how long have you been with the organization?
21 years.
You've been there the whole time?
I'm the founding director.
Okay, wow. So did you have to go through from when you were with the DHS, did you have to go through special training?
Right.
After you decided that hey, I'm going to do this?
Right. So
how much did that take?
Well, normally it's about a week, but there are several different weeks that you take, and I've had hundreds and hundreds of hours of training now. So now my title is forensic interviewer. I have been the executive director, but then last year retired and semi-retired. And now I do the forensic interviews and a lot of the PR stuff. So Mark Bean is our executive director, and he handles the day-to-day operations, and I just get to do the fun parts.
Nice. So, obviously your job is very, not traumatic, but you deal with a lot of stuff. How do you personally process all of that and deal with that?
Yeah, I appreciate you recognizing that. And I think what has to happen is you have to have some really strong roots. And the way I feel about the job, because I get that question a lot, is that there's a child who's carrying a really heavy burden that doesn't know what to do with it. And it's my job to put that on my shoulders. And my shoulders have a team of people, that are trained to do this. And so we take that burden off the child and we take it on our shoulders. And I'm happy to do that for them.
Nice. So as far as that goes, you're obviously dealing with a lot of stressful situations, but there also has to be some good that you see also. What for you, is there any of that good that pushes you forward and saying, hey, we helped this child and we helped this situation?
Yeah. And I think one of the best parts about the job is that we bring it's kind of like herding cats sometimes to bring legal people and medical people and DHS people and police officers and attorneys all together at the same time. But gosh, when they start talking to each other, and they're working out, because they're all very creative, capable people, they just need that bridge to share the information. And that's kind of where we fit in. But when it comes to the kids, we've got some really great stories about kids who did, once they unloaded that burden on the team of people whose job it was to take care of it, then they were able to go forth, and they are business owners here in Ponca City and everywhere else. I mean, and they support us as, sponsors for our events and things like that. And so we've seen a lot of kids come from a really hard place and still reach their full potential.
Wow, that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. So let's talk a little bit about, so the way I started and wanted to interview you was your video that you posted about do you do a lot of selfie videos?
I'm going to do more.
Awesome.
I'm going to do more. It's my job to promote this idea.
So there's a fun question. I'm going to save my other question. I want to dive into this first.
Okay.
So you've been in this for 21 years. How has technology changed the way that you do your work? Because, I mean,
probably not.
21 years ago, you didn't have to do selfie.
Right. Probably not to the same degree that that your field has. But yeah, the recording equipment that we use is, state of the art, and we always are able to, we store those if necessary until police get them, and there's some of that. But we're not very high tech, actually.
Okay, that's cool. So I saw your video. You're going to be making some big changes starting in April. Let's talk about those changes.
Right. So if you don't mind, I'm going to take a little rabbit trail here.
Absolutely.
So it's called Deering House,
right?
Because the name of the family that donated the building. Okay. So it had belonged to an elderly gentleman. It was a little one-bedroom apartment, a little one-bedroom house, a little small. And he had dementia, couldn't live there anymore, and his family. His siblings then, because we were at the time looking for a place to put a center in. And of course, location, being a block off of 14th Street, it was a pretty good location. And the house had really no value to them. It wasn't in great shape. It was probably worth about $14,000 at the time. And so it wasn't a huge financial contribution, but it was a giant step in making it possible for us to have a facility. So the money was raised to bring it up to national standards, and they did so. And we've been in that same building, I would guess about 1,800 square feet. But now there are 4 of us, and lots of services going on, and we just need more space. So we were recently able to acquire the parking lot. It had belonged to the hotel, but the hotel is not a hotel anymore, and so they don't need the overflow parking. And so with that, we can expand. And so we're going to add on just about 600 square feet. It's not a huge project, but where the driveway is now, up to the fence, we're going to be adding more office space.
Nice. And what will that office space be used for? I mean, will it just be used for meeting with kids and stuff like that?
It will. It'll probably primarily be counseling. As well as right now in our office space, it's about this big, and we have 4 people in there, and there's not a private conversation in the house, Sure. So it would be if you need some quiet time to work, you can work in there. Also, we not only do we do forensic interviewing, but we also are the location for all sexual assault exams. And so it gives them some additional space and more privacy as well.
Nice. That's having extra space is always good, just for flow of traffic, even. So when will that all start taking place?
Well, we have received the architect's drawings. He's still working on some of the more detailed drawings about, the foundation and the roofing and things of that have to be considered. But I really hope we can get started. I think we can break ground by June. The other thing I think is really good news is that I talked about they raised money in the community to bring Deering House up to standard. Well, what money they had left over, they put in an investment account.
Okay.
So half of our budget is already provided by the founders of the program when they planned ahead.
Nice. That certainly makes it a lot easier to do the fundraising part because most of it's done.
Yeah. So we're just really fortunate that our founding people planned it long ahead. They just couldn't have anticipated what the building costs were going to be in 2025.
Sure.
I'd like to have that done this year. I really hope it'll happen.
So in your video, you mentioned that you were looking for contractors and things like that. Have you guys found contractors and all of that?
We have talked to a few, but we need to get from the architect the more detailed things that they need before they can really say it's going to take this much material and this much cost. But we're always looking for people that would, even a less skilled, I mean, not everybody's going to put up a roof, but a lot of people could help paint the walls.
Yeah.
So we will be definitely having some volunteer and asking for some help with that kind of work.
I've done a couple of habitat houses, so raising the walls is not as hard as you think it is.
Okay. All right. And your number is?
Well, I mean, there was a lot of very skilled people there directing us non-skilled folks, but we did a good job. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff that people can do to volunteer to help with things like that.
Yeah, we're definitely looking for people that want to be a part of that project. And it's called Dottie's Place, and it's named after my mom. And my mom passed away last year, and we had a very, very generous outpouring for her memorial fund, which paid for the architectural drawings. And so she was one of the original donors. She was Dorothy Deering. So the addition will be Dottie's Place because it'll have its own door and it'll have its own entrance.
Okay.
And so we can tell kids when you come for your forensic interview to come to Deering House. When you come to your counseling, you go to Dottie's Place.
Nice. And so what fundraising efforts are you going to be doing to finish out getting the rest of the money?
We do have some plans in place. We've working with some consultants that are better at capital campaigns than we are. But one of the things that we have, and we're going to do in April, is that we have a matching grant. And for every dollar that we raise, up to $10,000 in April, because April's Child Abuse Prevention Month, and so we do our annual walk there, and it's just a good time to bring attention to what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah. So everything we raise in April, essentially, would be doubled.
Fantastic. So what's the process of me being able to donate to you?
Well, we still use those paper methods called checks. With a postage stamp or drop them by. We also have on our website, kindly prepared here, that would have a link to more for online donations.
Fantastic. All right, Maggie, is there anything else that we didn't cover that maybe we should have, that you think of? That I didn't go over?
I will in about an hour from now.
That's how that works every time.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Maggie, thank you so much for joining us today. And we appreciate your time and everything that you do for our community. And we hope that as you raise money in April, that you get all the funds that you need to make Dottie's Place a place to happen.
Yeah. And thank you for bringing us to the attention of the community. Because a lot of times people, unless they're in crisis, every child I've ever talked to, the parents will go, I didn't even know you were here. Well, because until there's a crisis, you don't.
Right.
And so we're happy to have your attention to us. Thank you so much.